I am Tulam. I am a warrior that follows the path of Bushido, an ancient code of ethics of the samurai. I am a philosopher, I'm a gardener. I am a loving husband. I am the CEO of Ronin Tactics. I am a video game character, Ronin. I'm the co-host of the History Channel, Forged in Fire, Knife or Death. I woke up this morning thinking, how did I end up here? I mean, my life started off in chaos. I was born in war, escaping post-Vietnam War genocide to drifting out in the South China Sea for nearly 30 days, left there to die. Saw the worst in humanity, 27 countries, 15 years of war, and I lost my way. But it was through loss, pain, suffering is when I found my true self. And that's the struggle of life, the struggle of a warrior is the journey within. And through the journey within, may we express our love, gratitude for life. So tonight, on Veterans Day, on this common ground, I'm going to share my experience on how I was able to transform myself so that I may help others, to give back for the sake of humanity, and may this love ripple through the span of eternity.
Can you imagine what it took for heaven and earth to align for us all to be sitting here tonight? I mean, in this endless space of the universe. You know, I read that scientists can still see the glow from light particles from the beginning. Light particles moving at the speed of light some 15 billion years ago. Can you imagine how mathematically impossible it is that we're all gathered here tonight on this common ground? Yet in all this endless space of impossible, here we are, given this opportunity called life. Life, what's it all about, and how do I know if I'm living a proper, fulfilling life? Well, to me, in order to know the meaning of living, you must first know yourself. To know thyself. Who are you before names, title, positions? Who are you before you became a son, a father, a mother, a grandparent? Before the role you play in this lifetime as doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, as warriors. You see, majority of our beliefs arise from our culture, our religion, our parents, friends, our tribe. In today's fast-paced world full of judgment, hate, war, it's easy to get lost in the question of identity. Who am I in soul and spirit? I sought this deeper meaning to life as a child, born in war, lost my freedoms. Who am I? As a warrior of special operations, I dedicated the majority of my adult life in fighting to free the oppressed. I saw the worst in the world. Yet I searched for the meaning there. As a free spirit, I ran with the Special Forces A teams, protecting the defenseless. I sang and danced in the rain around a primitive fire in Bunamajita, Cameroon. Climbed the highest mountains where heaven and earth touches, always looking for the meaning of life and who I am. After 23 years of service, 27 countries, and 15 years of war, man, I struggle with who I am. I was heavily addicted to painkillers, and I used it to numb the pain that I felt inside. At this point in my life, I saw the worst in humanity, and the sight, sounds, and smell of war was forever burned into every crevice of my soul. At this stage of my life, I lost my way. But I truly feel that sometimes you must lose yourself in order to find your true self. There once lived this ancient Chinese philosopher and imperial record keeper by the name of Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was the founder of Taoism and wrote the 81 verses of the Tao Te Ching. What I find really interesting is that this is the most translated text in the world, in every language, in every culture, next to the Holy Bible. See, the Tao Te Ching was never meant to be written as a religious text, but rather Lao Tzu teaches us how to live in acceptance and in harmony with the eternal energy of what has always been. He says within this vast, endless universe, where nothing happens just by chance, choose, surrender, and flow with the eternal energy of the universe. As a human being, I had conflict with this philosophy. Unlike Lao Tzu, who chooses to live in harmony and acceptance with the universe, we commandos forcefully control the situation by overwhelming our enemies with speed and depth, to control the externals, to excel in battle. Only this time, for me, the battlefield was within. And this enemy was trained in intelligence and unconventional warfare. Tactics and strategies. This enemy knew my every move. This enemy was me. In the teachings of Taoism, it is said that a journey of 1,000 miles began with a single step. My first steps in my journey healing was first I dumped the drugs and I sat there in the pain from the withdrawals. War, it did not make us kind men. So in retraining my mind, I practiced kindness, compassion, forgiveness. My day started at 4 a.m. with training in mindfulness and gratitude. For many years, I practiced forgiveness for the cruelties I saw in this world. Yet I sat there in so much pain. I was raised in a strict upbringing, and this discipline was reinforced by the military. So during my healing years, I applied strict discipline to my daily routine. For many years, still going to this day, I would focus in on breath, inhaling and exhaling out the pain that sat in my soul. I shut off the world and I focus in on who I am. And as I sat deeper in meditation, I closed off the voices and opinions of others. And what I found really interesting was that after a few years of daily meditation practice, I began to notice there was an energy that sat at the pause at the end of each exhale. It was within this space of void, there now sat this energy, a monster, that now sits in my soul. Call what you want. Monster, ego, program, neuroscience. But this monster whispers and reminds me of my past. The whispers are constant and in time becomes deafening. Each whisper is tied to a memory, and each memory is tied to emotion. And these emotions, stress and fear can be felt out through my whole entire physical body, 24 hours a day. It doesn't stop. And in time, it becomes unbearable. You know, I read that 95% of the brain works off the subconscious. It's always working in the background. For most of us, we're so unaware of something that happens so automatic, like breathing. But yet, the answer to life can be found within each breath. Each moment, our subconscious mind generates a thought. And if a person's unaware of that thought, just like they're unaware of breathing, then in time, this can cause mental health issues. You see, each thought is tied to a memory, and each memory is tied to emotion. The stronger the emotional event, the longer the subconscious mind remembers. Unaware of this emotional subconscious, and you'll have no way in combating your emotional traumas. Subconsciously fire and wire these neurological pathways often enough, and you'll live in anxieties and pain. I tell you, running with the teams in special operations is extremely fast-paced. There was a point in my career that I was deployed for 10 months out of a year for many years. To kill our enemies, we would employ explosives and weapons that will skip a beat of a heart, that would violently shake our brains and internal organs. Long-term effects, like the 20-year war, will cripple the strongest of men. There was a point that I started receiving phone calls from an ex-teammate informing me that another ex-teammate has taken his life. I tell you, I served along some of the toughest men in this world, and I tell you, these same men are now taking their own lives. Man, I too struggled. I struggled for many years. And there was a point that I turned to faith. So what is faith? I was 3 years old when I was first introduced to faith. My family and I were escaping post-Vietnam War genocide, like the modern-day Afghanistan withdrawal. People were leaving any means possible. My family and I escaped on an overstuffed wooden fishing boat with 100 other fleeing refugees. There was an estimated 400,000 refugees died at sea. And there we were, loaded up in the bottom deck of a small little wooden fishing boat. We drifted and was left for dead for nearly 30 days. Lack of food and water, the dead was thrown overboard. Like many other fleeing refugees, my mother carried poison within her belongings. And this poison was to be administered to the children once the journey ends for us, so that we may not suffer a painful death. As the days turned into weeks, my mother held on to the one thing that this physical life can never take away from us, and that's our faith. As people were dying from dehydration and illness, my mother held on
for one more day.
So it was through my faith, it was through my discipline, it was through my meditation that I continued to focus in every single day to fight, to become the person I always wanted to be, to become my best self. And I tell you, man, it's an amazing thing when you work on yourself daily. You begin to look at things in a different light. I tell you, during my healing years, I leaned heavily on my beautiful wife. What an amazing human being. We recently just celebrated our 22-year anniversary. See, during my service years, my wife had to endure the continuous deployments, the combat missions, the secretive assignments. I tell you, war at the special operations level takes a toll. And my wife endured a whole career of it. My wife, and all of the other amazing wives sitting in this room tonight, was there picking up the pieces when the lesson of war became just too much for us all. They too had to endure their hardships as the teams continuously deployed throughout the years, only to face the monster that comes home from these combat rotations. I want to take a moment. I want to thank the families and wives of Special Operations. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you. So it was around my 6 years of discipline, meditation, a strict daily routine, that I knew that there was something inside of me that would not allow me to move past my traumas. There was something inside of me that would not allow me to find my true inner peace. So I started studying more. I started doing more research. I spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours listening to some podcast with some doctor talking about mind and body connection. I was arming myself with intelligence. I would take these lessons from these lectures and I'll apply it to my own life to strengthen my own spirituality. And as I sat there, deeper in the practice of meditation, I looked past thought and I focus in on the emotion on each exhale. They said the root of all suffering is attachment, so I practice letting go. But man, it's hard letting go. I mean, how do you let go of your beliefs, your intellect, your intelligence? Sometimes the ego can have such a strong grip on our souls that it will not allow us to move past our traumas. Traumas like the 20-year war on terrorism. Traumas from our childhood. I mean, my family and I were drifting out in the South China Sea and was left for dead for nearly 30 days. So what happens when the lesson of life becomes too much? And the ego that kept you alive now sits and whispers. It reminds you of your past. So how do you let go? How do you let go of your narratives, your intellect, your beliefs? How can you train your mind to emotionally detach from your traumas? In the Book of Five Rings, by Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was a Ronin born in the late 1500s and died in 1645 after writing the Book of Five Rings. Musashi was a master swordsman, a philosopher, a teacher, a gardener, an artist, and a warrior that walked the path of Bushido, an ancient code of ethics of the samurai. And in the book of Dokudo, Musashi spoke of this invisible energy. Man, for many years I struggled with these teachings of emptiness. What's it mean? And in the book of Void, Musashi said that in order to perceive what is actual truth, one must die to everything of yesterday. As a warrior of special operations, there's one thing that I learned off the battlefield. And that's only truly the brave are truly free. Death to ego. I was first introduced to the VETS program through my friend Sean Ryan. Marcus and Amber's mission is to end veteran suicide. I tell you, this treatment has changed my life in so many ways. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Amber. I also want to thank the VETS professional staff, counselors, and spiritual healers to help me through my journey in healing. It wasn't easy. And it's still ongoing to this day. But I tell you, this treatment allowed me to finally break free from the grip that my ego had on my soul for so long. As a child born in war, I searched for the meaning of living. Out of oppression, I rose to free the oppressed. Also searching for the meaning of life and who I am. In the end, the answer was found within me. Now I understand all too clear the teachings of Void and Miyamoto Musashi. Now I understand all too clear the teachings allows you and how to live in acceptance and in harmony with the eternal energy. So what is the meaning of life? What's the meaning of living? I was 21 years old when the Special Forces deployed into remote villages in the country of Laos. During the Vietnam War, American troops dropped hundreds and thousands of landmines throughout the jungles and rice paddies. Fast forward down to 1998, and these kids were losing their legs and limbs playing in these jungle areas. I remember touching down on a helicopter landing zone in one of these remote villages. And as I was walking off the landing zone with my linguist, a little girl, roughly around 11 years old, came running up to me. I immediately poured out candy and I gave it to the little girl. And she shook her head and she gave me back the candy. And she said something in her native language. My linguist translated. Sir, do you have a pencil? Pen, perhaps? I gave the little girl a pen. She kissed me on the cheek and ran off. Later on that day, My linguist told me the significance of that gift. You see, sir, in this village, there's no pens, papers. There's no school for their children. So in a way, sir, you gave her hope. It was during that deployment that we trained the villagers how to find, mark, and dispose of these landmines. We built a school for the children and explosively rerouted a nearby river so the villagers can have running water. That's the meaning of life. That's the meaning of living. So in one lifetime, what would you give to better the span of humanity? He made his love ripple through generations. As we gathered here tonight, underneath the moon, the stars in heaven, may we stand united and begin to heal a nation after 20 years of war. Tonight, together on this common ground, may we vibrate at the highest frequency that only love can generate. And may this energy ripple through the span of eternity. And with the span of each breath, know that God has given us the ability to create our own lives, our narratives, our beliefs. Tonight, together on this common ground, let us stand united and create a better world for the next generations to come. Remember this. Thank you. Remember this. One moment can change the day. And one day can change your life. And one life can change the world. God bless our troops. God bless America. God and country. Thank you.